Hello, my name is Jake from CoinFund. We do a lot of research on blockchain technology companies, and we invest in the crypto assets of decentralized networks. And today, we're going to talk to Lawnmower.io. It'll be a nice Q&A to round out the last two that we did. We spoke to Economy about 2 weeks ago. These guys crowdfunded about 10 million bucks for a multi-currency portfolio product, as well as they're doing a couple of managed funds. And then last week we talked to Melonport, which is a decentralized asset management platform built on Ethereum, a place where you can kind of go and build smart contract-backed portfolios, and then users can potentially select the portfolio manager for themselves. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Lawnmower.
Cool. So the three of us, me, Peter, and Patrick, are the only founders of Lawnmower. The three of us are all from Florida. That's where we all met. Background is in finance, so I handle most of marketing and biz dev and a lot of like analytical writing for Lawnmower.
So like Alex said, we're all from Florida. Met there when me and Alex met in high school, and we met Peter in college. My role at Lawnmower is I'm the CTO, so I do everything technical with the app and the website, basically.
All right, so my name is Peter. Like they said, we were in Florida. We went out to San Francisco actually to work on Lawnmower, and now we're out here in New York. And I also do like app development, website design, stuff like that, pitching, those kind of things.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what Lawnmower is.
Yeah, so it's a free mobile app on iOS and Android. We let you invest into blockchain assets like Bitcoin and Ether using just your bank account, or set up a sort of recurring purchase to dollar cost average in. We also feature about 15 more assets, everything from Ripple to Digix to Litecoin to a bunch of different other blockchain assets where you can kind of read about them, learn resources. We write summaries, we link kind of the white papers. And we let you kind of track the price quotes, market cap, stuff like that over time to really kind of educate you and help you keep up with the entire asset class.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So the way that, and I've told you this to you guys before, the way that I kind of like see the blockchain investing vertical is it's sort of split into three prongs. On one hand, you have kind of more traditional funds akin to what we're doing at CoinFund. You have just kind of plain vanilla multi-currency wallets where users can just make the trading decisions themselves. They buy up the stuff. And then you have these kind of this more emergent and newer idea of decentralized asset management platforms. So what's interesting is that you guys have also integrated a little bit of the research side into your product, which is something that you don't normally see when you're looking at multi-currency wallets. So how do you guys like feel you fit into sort of the three prongs there?
Yeah, I think we're kind of trying to at least be full service. I totally agree with you though, kind of having this analogy to the traditional space where it's like these more closed-ended hedge funds where you kind of invest in them and they do what you want. You also kind of have these equivalent to like stock brokerages where you go into E-Trade and it's kind of like, trade whatever you will. We don't write that much of our own analysis. We don't really give you any sort of advice on how to allocate this. And then you kind of have the recent trend in the years where it's like these robo-advisors or these passive automated services or kind of just these platforms that make it a little bit more manageable for you to roll up with little knowledge and kind of be set on the track. So I'd say we're trying to be a little bit between the last two. So we want to make it, as flexible as possible. If you know what you're doing, feel free to not read any of our research, trade kind of like you will, very actively, buy and sell whenever. The recurring purchase option is extremely popular with our user base. Common investment on our platform is $20 a week. Really that sort of, hey, I like Bitcoin or Ether. I'm not so sure on this price or what's even driving it. I do know that it's an easy strategy to sort of slowly buy in over time if I'm interested in getting in. So we try and go there. And then as you said, we have all this research. I think the current space is like wallets, pure wallets. A lot of them you can't even buy in. Then you have exchanges. then you sort of have almost like your initial research houses, then you have your news agencies, and it's kind of a little bit fragmented right now. And we really want to be, this one-stop shop. So if you're really not familiar with crypto, we don't want you to have to come into our app, be able to just buy Bitcoin, go somewhere else to look at the dash price, go somewhere else to read news, go somewhere else to do this. We really just want to be like the hub for crypto, both investing and learning about new assets.
Mm-hmm. And how many currencies do you guys currently support?
So for trading right now, you can trade Bitcoin and Ether using your bank account. We have about 20 assets listed on our app, but not trading functionality for the other 18. It's just like a bunch of resources like the FAQ and white paper. Here's some price quotes. Here's market cap. So it's more of like information on education for kind of the newer assets that we can add as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And right now we're partnered with Coinbase, so a little bit of our actual trading integration stems off of that. So right now they support Bitcoin and Ether on retail. We do too. If they were to add more assets, those as quick as possible.
Do you guys rely on Coinbase for executions, or do you see yourself branching out to other exchanges or services in the future?
So right now, all our executions are handled by Coinbase. We're by no means locked in or anything. We have talked to some other guys, general conversations with like Shapeshift, Bittrex, Poloniex, Kraken, really all the guys that trade multiple assets. It's really balanced now of, how we kind of mesh these platforms together. So what I love about Coinbase that's, for example, not there with Shapeshift is with a bank account. And we think that's, extremely important to get these mainstream retail guys in. So, maybe it would be nice if we meshed Coinbase with one of these, or, just kind of how we fit it all together and handle different orders is kind of like the next step of our platform. And really, as we get into some of these index products we're trying to develop, where, let's say there's 5 currencies in the portfolio and Coinbase only supports 2, that's not going to work unless we have sort of multiple exchanges or ways to execute orders for every asset we're looking into in our expansion.
So you kind of mentioned that you don't necessarily want to make trading recommendations, but nevertheless you provide research. So are we talking like tell us a little bit more about your research?
So sort of in traditional markets, a lot of equity research serves a few purposes, not only just here's high level information of what this asset is, but they also kind of make, price recommendations or strong buy or, sell or whatever. What we really focus on is just straight up fundamental information. So, we're not out here making recommendations. I think more like, people just want to learn about what the asset actually is. Obviously, there's a lot of emotion and opinion you can get from anywhere. But the hardest issue is just like, can you just describe the supply going on? What's the implied valuation? Just what's the price history? So I focus just a lot on and information and just as a way to sort of educate you. I have no business being kind of a financial advisory role. I'm not interested in that. We just want to make easy tools to let you invest and let you get that information and make your own choices as easy as possible.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And have you guys built out your own infrastructure to kind of pull in that kind of research data, such as pricing and market caps and all that stuff, or do you rely on third parties to pipe the data to Lawnmower?
So we integrate with several APIs, including Coinbase's. So as we execute those trades, we show you the applicable price right from Coinbase. From a lot of these other obscure assets that Coinbase doesn't trade, we use CoinCap. It's kind of run by the same Shapeshift Eric Voorhees gang. For news, we also integrate some CoinDesk stuff into our platform. So, we make our own stuff, but we definitely have no issue supporting and leveraging a bunch of the content that some of these other firms have made.
Mm-hmm. And so segueing into kind of the more technical end, let's talk about custody, because custody is kind of a pretty important topic, especially when you're thinking along the lines of traditional funds, let's say, right? So in a traditional hedge fund, you normally have a custodian or broker. Like, when you're trading stocks, you put those stocks into the broker's account. They're insured by FDIC. Kind of one of the challenges of, let's say, crypto funds these days is when dealing with their investors, thinking about how custody works. So there really aren't that many if at all, any tools in the blockchain space today that could provide custody. That might change in the future. But where do these funds live?
So all of the funds through Lawnmower, if you create a Lawnmower account, we actually create you kind of a Coinbase wallet in the background. So every trade executed for our platform is sent to your Coinbase, Bitcoin, or Ether wallet. We think, it's easier for newcomers to just be introduced to probably one of the most respected brands in the space, have their funds go to a wallet that a lot of people deem as trustworthy. If you don't want to have your keys held with someone like Coinbase, we're very open to just saying, hey, we just trade it here because it's the easiest first step without making you manage your private key right off the get-go. If you'd like to hold it in an external wallet, that's fine, and kind of do as you will. All our trades are sort of executed straight from your bank account to your Coinbase wallet. So that's where funds are kind of default custodied. If you'd like, after that, you can move them obviously wherever you'd like. There are some services that say, right off the get-go, be your own bank. That's what Bitcoin's all about. We want to send you your private key or somehow give you some way to store it a bit more securely and totally on your own. I think that's great, and those services should exist and probably just be blended as options for our customers to go there. But we don't really want to intimidate them with, here, set up multi-sig, or here's your private key right off the get-go. Sort of, even as I watch a lot of people showing them new apps like that, it's like, blank iOS wallet here, and then it's like 12-word seed immediately. And I'll watch someone like my sister just be like, I'll just take a screenshot of that for later. And it's like, oh, you ruined the entire thing already.
Yeah, like for us, we like to say that we take someone from hearing the word blockchain in the Wall Street Journal to getting them all the way to investing in their first crypto assets. And someone like your grandma, or like Alex said, your sister, they're not going to have like the same security practices that all of us more technical-minded people already have. I mean, like you said, you take a screenshot of the 12-word seed. I mean, you're done at that point. Someone's going to sweep your funds at some point, especially someone who doesn't have, who isn't security conscious. So we like to introduce people to a way that they at least have a decent level of security. I mean, Coinbase is, like you said, one of the most trusted brands in the space. And you have the option to move your funds if you would like. No one's stopping you.
Right. So it sounds like you guys are really focused on kind of the barrier to entry aspect that you see in a lot of blockchain projects, which is like, oh, sure, well, I can create a social network, but then to actually get normal people to use it, they have to get over the hurdle of, being able to buy cryptocurrency, being able to manage wallets, things like that. So is that correct? You have that's a core focus of Lawnmower, is to make that experience as smooth as possible?
Yeah, so one thing we kind of say is like, we just want to demystify the whole space. So that kind of goes two parts with like, yeah, let's write our own information and research just these really condensed summaries, so you actually get an idea of what this asset is, with staying a little bit away from like mining algorithms and stuff right off the get-go. Just kind of, here's what this is. And then we think another huge limitation is just like UX. I mean, you go to an exchange or a wallet, or then if you get a wallet that is security conscious, you're going to go on Reddit and people are going to tell you like, don't even use an online exchange, go meet someone up and like local Bitcoins. It's just like, a normal guy's just not going to get that far. And we think it's really limiting. And then especially as we get excited, like Ethereum dApp, it's like, all right, well, you need Ether to interact with that. You don't even have Bitcoin. Like, holy crap, like we can't even go down this rabbit hole. But yeah, we think like UX, UI, and just when you use a lot of products, just kind of keeps out the mass market right now. So that's what we really kind of got in, to be like, all right, let's make something really easy, really comforting. Our whole UI is based off like Robinhood, which is really popular with kind of like younger generations in the equity space. Really just try and like, if anyone sees, I mean, a lot of people we talk to don't even know, like, Bitcoins are fractionally traded, or just all these basic things. And you're like, man, an issue with like step one of something in crypto, whether it's got to be like information or just the initial product experience you have, because Bitcoin, and people just like barely get to the surface before they just go off and make some radical opinion about it.
Right. I agree. I mean, in my experience, even kind of traditional finance guys, they may have heard of Bitcoin. They may even understand generally in broad strokes how it works. But just to make the leap over into other alternative assets or other currencies with different properties is usually pretty hard, and most people have not done that. Cool. So now, so going back to like kind of a little bit more of the technical issue. So now suppose that you guys have, at some point like add Steam. I'm not sure if you have Steam already on your platform, but just as an example, which is a totally different blockchain than Bitcoin or Ether, obviously, and also is not currently supported by Coinbase. So is that something that you would be able to support relatively quickly, or that's just kind of not the core focus?
Definitely like a core focus of ours. We're really focused on, I'd say, just blockchain assets that have, some demand, which you can usually define as like market cap and trading volume. Steam probably does have a decent amount of demand, something we would be totally open to add, and we'd love to do that. Waiting on Coinbase does suck, and, that it'd probably be a little while before they added something like Steam. But, what we're looking into it's hard to say on timing, but if we were to integrate with like a Poloniex or a Bittrex or something like that, these new assets are things that we could add. Granted, we would want to, make the UI and UX on our app really not confusing, and trying to set someone up with a Poloniex account and a Coinbase account and having this Meta Lawnmower account is just, we want to be really clear on how it's done. But we're open to adding assets as quick as we can. We're really bullish on the entire asset class, which definitely includes more than Bitcoin and Ether. It's just a question of, do these other exchanges and wallets have kind of open APIs we can integrate with? What are any other UX and kind of security concerns? And we definitely want to figure out how to mesh them all together, though, and add support as quick as we can for as many as we can.
Awesome. Yeah, as like a 3-man team, we don't really have the technical manpower to like properly custody these assets, basically. So we pretty much have to leverage one of these existing solutions, and it's a much more responsible way to do things, I think.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Very cool. So let's see, there was something that I wanted to ask you. So going off into kind of the future, is this more of a robo-advisor kind of product like Betterment or Wealthfront or Ellevest or something like that? Or do you see it as a app that people have on their phone and actually could also use as payments in addition to investing, right? Like the line between investing in currencies and using currencies to buy stuff is a little bit blurred in blockchain. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I have more liquid money in Bitcoin than I do in US dollars. Like, I would rather probably send this to someone if I owed them like $1,000 than the small amount of dollars I have in my account. But I'm also really considering, the Bitcoin as like a heavy investment and not my dollars at all. So totally, yeah, Bitcoin is kind of, actual use for payments. It obviously has benefits and investments at the same time. So it's a little weird to like budget that. But I would say we're kind of more focused on the investment sector. I see no issue why we couldn't eventually put a send button in. And, I'm all about, we don't need to keep funds locked on our platform, especially as we're saying, feel free to use whatever wallet you want. If the quote unquote wallet you want is a merchant's account, that's great. You're actually using Bitcoin kind of, how it should be used. But I would say right now we're focused on like adding new assets, adding new analytics for actual trading on our app, and really adding more research sort of on not only existing assets, but kind of these upcoming crowd sales and ICOs too. But I think generally all of us like the investment sector of finance more than the payment side. But, like I said, I'm not, super strong on like no send button. We need to keep these assets locked here forever. It's not what we're trying to be. But definitely think go ahead, P.
That's all right. Like nowadays, like one of the hugest use cases that's useful to normal people is just like the speculative investing side of all these cryptocurrencies. Like most normal people don't have that use case that's so killer that they need a send button at this moment. I mean, you can use Bitcoin and alternative currencies for a lot of things, but like the kind of financial professionals we're trying to draw into our application aren't really there quite yet. But yeah, definitely, like Alex was saying, like as soon as those applications become more used, as soon as like they become more popular, I think I see Lawnmower as almost this like entry point, this kind of like overall Rolodex of all the assets. It will definitely make sense for it to kind of serve as a wallet as well.
Mm-hmm. So two questions off of that. So you mentioned financial professionals. Is that the kind of prototypical user that you guys are aiming to onboard here?
I think we try to make the app so that anyone can use it, right? But I think at the stage that the space is at, I think that's a great user to aim for right now, because especially with like all the banks looking into blockchain technology, and especially now looking into public and open blockchains and not just the private blockchains as we saw, the past year and a half. I think that these type of people are becoming more aware of the benefits of the technology and all the far-reaching effects it could have, and already are have portfolios in a ton of different asset classes. So approaching them and saying like, hey, this is just a new asset class that represents the ability to do these things, I think is kind of an easy onboarding experience for them. So that's definitely one segment of the market that we're aiming at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, Alex.
Just as we model our apps and a lot of our research and just, how we do things after sort of traditional financial products, I mean, anyone who used Robinhood is going to be like, okay, I understand how this app works. Anyone who's kind of read an equity research report or something like it is going to see a report I wrote and be like, okay, this is along the same lines. I think when we last looked, something like 75 or 80% of our users are males between the ages of 18 and 45 working in tech or finance in New York and San Francisco. Nice. So if it's not analysts already, young analysts working in finance, then it's, just software engineers that have basically figured it out and know how to use sort of independently managed investing app. So it's very much probably young people all like us with a little bit of knowledge and interest in tech or finance that really sparked it off and kind of, figured out how to use some initial exchange. And now we're trying to say, hey, you don't have to go to your, really technical brokerage platform anymore. Just come to our streamlined sort of application.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about how you think of these assets as investments. So first of all, there's a very crude kind of classification that you can do, and you can say, okay, these assets are just sort of pure currencies, right? Like Bitcoin, Litecoin, maybe they're anonymous like Monero. And then on the other side, you have digital assets that buy you voting rights or give you an economic interest in the growth of a particular platform. Like when you guys think about what assets to present to these, let's say, financial professionals in New York and San Francisco, do you have a way in your mind of thinking about the different kind of classes of instruments within crypto itself?
Yeah, like you said, I definitely think there's kind of like this overall blockchain asset class, which is just any sort of asset that's leveraging almost like blockchain technology, pretty much anything you'd see on like CoinCap or CoinMarketCap. Like you said, I think an easy way to divide it is kind of the payment space. So stuff like, Bitcoin and Litecoin, maybe even like Ripple coming in there as more of this like international actual bank settlement platform. You have your privacy focused coins like Dash and Monero, and then Zcash coming out. You have sort of your storage based coins like Made Safer Storage. Then you actually have, just Ethereum dApps, which can probably be classified all over the place, but definitely their own segment of the market. You have actual dApp platforms like Lisk and Ethereum. A lot of them, an easy classification is just kind of like, is there like a dividend stream? Is something coming out of this for actual investors? Is this like a Digix where you're getting like a percentage of trading volume on their platform? Or like Augur where you're getting a percentage of bets on the prediction market? Or is this just sort of a asset you're buying and holding like Bitcoin? There is sort of no dividend stream. It's really just, hey, hopefully this entire network is worth more later. Ethereum's kind of in this hybrid state where it's like, hey, we might go to proof of stake and then there will be this new dividend stream. So it's a really diverse asset class, and it kind of is, weird to just label as one thing that's so diverse. I suppose a lot of equities are kind of similar, although there is some sort of baseline structure, but I definitely think we'll get more divided, sub-asset class. It's already pretty easy to classify them or group them based on different characteristics. And now with just all these ICOs, you can see sort of ahead of time of, what's the normal structure of holdback to founders? Are people starting to cap these? What is this max even like based off? to sort of, as we get more data and all these assets come up, it just becomes easier. But like you said or alluded to, it's definitely going to become subdivided into pretty clear sub-asset classes, I think.
Hey. Right. Hello? Do you have a question? All right. Yeah. So just going off of that, Alex, like, you know, we have a spreadsheet pinned to the CoinFund Slack, which now is almost definitely over 200 companies that we've looked at, and we've kind of tried to separate them, you know, finger in the wind, and according to different verticals. And there's now so many verticals that there's almost a case for, like, when you're presenting these different investments, you can actually, you know, say to the customer, you could be like, okay, why don't you spread your funds between decentralized insurance and storage and social media? And it's almost as if you're picking, you know, a tinier version of like a classical stock portfolio where you're going by sector.
Yeah. Have you, sorry to jet in, but yeah, kind of like you said, instead of really like advising someone when they come into the app, I would kind of like to break it down into these separate sectors and almost give people something like a motif investing style choice. If you're familiar with that platform in the equities market, they'll do something like, hey, here's an aerospace fund, and they'll have sort of like, you know, 20 underlying aerospace assets. I think they probably just weight it by market cap because it's easily and data driven. You know, that's you could easily see how that could apply to the blockchain asset class and all these different subgroups that you've said you're creating. You know, we want to expand our like current Lawnmower blockchain index, which has no regard to sort of what sort of sub portfolio they'd be in. But I think our methodology right now is just like 50 million minimum constituent size, rebalance every month, market cap weighted. You know, you could easily make market cap weighted for indexes like, you know, every blockchain asset, excluding Bitcoin, every blockchain asset in the storage space or the privacy space, weight them all by market cap, let people sort of choose like this sector, maybe even make the allocations like a little slider bar so you're not advising and rather just giving like a preset or something. But totally think that's how the space is going to evolve, and that's really how the equity space evolved. I mean, there's like 3,000 companies. It's hard to filter them all, so people just have set up ETFs that represent certain sectors. And, you know, by the fact that there's so many, it just allows you some easy diversification play. I think that's probably how the blockchain space will sort of play out.
Mm-hmm. So in the course of building these multifarious indices, do you guys see decentralized platforms as a threat there? Because I imagine, you know, what we'll see in fairly short order are platforms which are like completely open source, that have open contracts, that hold the index kind of funds on the blockchain, that issue assets that you can trade, that give you exposure to those indices. And then because it's so open, you literally have this open market of competitors who come in and like, it's who can create the best index, right? So yeah. Is that scary from the standpoint of doing like managed indices?
Yeah, so like basically Economy, right?
Yeah. Well, Economy does it in a managed way, and that's kind of what I'm saying. But like, I'm thinking more Melonport, where you know, just have a public website, and all these people have created different configurations of assets.
Yeah. I definitely see that, you know, kind of as a threat, or high level, at least extremely relevant, like something that could take our slice of the pie or the same eyes of consumers. I think they do have some sort of kind of programs like that now in the equity space that are like follow the investment habits of Buffett or like some legend, and it kind of like tracks their investments. And I think, you know, there's definitely a place for that. People would use a product like that. My fear with a product like that right now is it's just probably a little bit far off. And when it launches, you know, a lot of people that are brand new to blockchain are probably going to have a little skepticism. You know, how nice is the UI going to be? So I think it will require a little bit of execution to really like get those clients and, you know, hold their demand and have them use the platform. But high level, I think it's a really good idea. Sort of open allocations are really cool. I think people would definitely use that. I could see a strong argument of using that instead of a managed product like coming through us, which would probably have just fewer static options. But, you know, I think there needs to be a lot of work done, and people are still, at least at the get-go, going to trust just something that's actually out there and has security, even like Coinbase. Yeah, so I think it can exist farther down the market. It'll just probably take a little bit longer to execute well and have, build the trust of consumers with a sort of decentralized version. But sweet idea, and I definitely see a place for it.
Awesome.
Well, and yet the UX of these, like Alex is saying, is probably not going to be super solid out the gate, which obviously makes sense. And there's probably going to be no fiat link there. It's probably going to be invested with Bitcoin. I'm not exactly sure how custody is going to work. I assume in some kind of trustless way, which is really cool. And for that reason, I don't see why, if these end up taking off, there's no reason why we couldn't feature these funds in our application through some kind of like, here's the top performers, or here's some interesting indexes that we personally didn't even think of. So yeah, we're kind of like competing with them, but also like it's not like that completely is a one-to-one, like they win, we lose, or something like that. Totally open into adapting with this space. I mean, that's all we basically are doing, is just studying how this is all evolving and making changes to our application to react to that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If I can pipe in like my opinion, when you're talking about decentralized portfolio construction, right, you basically have these two very serious technology problems. Right? One of them is execution. And that could be solved with decentralized exchanges, which at least there's a solution in sight. Mm-hmm. The other technology problem is, like, you can't charge performance fees, you can't get correct valuations of assets unless you have data feeds, right? And there's really like no fully decentralized data feeds available today. And so what that says to me is that kind of the correct way of building that platform today is in either a centralized or a semi-decentralized manner. But what I think will happen is that we'll see those kinds of platforms come out. I think we'll see a lot of excitement about people's ability to build these kinds of portfolios in an open way. And then that will further motivate the data aspect and research and so on. Let me pause here and thank you everybody who has joined on the Hangout. I was just wondering, I see Charlie, I see Brad, Tony, Brian, Alex. Do you guys have any questions for Lawnmower? Because I've just been hogging the questions. Anybody?
I'm here, but I don't have any questions. I'm learning as we're going.
Okay. Would you mind introducing yourself and just saying how? Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Tony, and I'm a longtime Bitcoiner. I got in 2011. I was very lucky. I put in a couple $1,000, not knowing what it was. I was quickly hooked. I became a miner. I've started up a few websites. I'm trying to get something going in Argentina right now. As you know, Argentina is going through some very difficult times with their national currency, but people don't wake up. And I kind of see this happening in the US, so I'm a strong advocate for cryptocurrencies. But I like groups like with what you guys are doing. You guys are taking it to the next level, getting it out to the mainstream. So I want to be connected to what's happening with this Bitcoin 3.0, if you will. We've gone through Bitcoin 2.0. And I think the next level is to get mainstream and with these more easier, helping our grandmothers own Bitcoin sort of.
Absolutely.
Cheers to that. Completely agree.
Hi there.
Okay.
I'd be interested in hearing about your international strategy. Are you planning to kind of go global?
Yeah, so right now our apps are available to download anywhere in the world. Our actual trading or investing tools that we're partnered with Coinbase to offer, right now we only have those available in the US. Coinbase is available in 32 countries, mostly throughout Europe. And we've been talking to them about just kind of opening up the API endpoints to add kind of SEPA transfers and everything that's common there. It's on our roadmap, although we are kind of waiting on really them to open up the endpoints that we need. But, Bitcoin and crypto is inherently global. We'd love to support kind of the rest of the world as quick as we can. So we kind of started with, here, read our information, look at these price quotes, look at this research. We promise we're trying on, actually bringing investment tools to those places. But as we're partnered with just Coinbase right now, a little bit of weight on them. As we partner with other exchanges in the future, maybe that all changes. But we're definitely aiming to go as global as possible, as quick as we can.
Cool. We have Ron Bernstein with us today. Ron is the founder of InTrade and advisor to the Augur project. And Ron actually brings up a really good point. What do you guys kind of see as your business model for Lawnmower?
Yeah. So right now, we have two kind of core business models. One is just a variation of basically a fee on every trade. So we don't charge users a fee on top of Coinbase. So, that's one of our arguments of why would I use Lawnmower instead of Coinbase? Well, the trades are executed at the same price. Plus, we kind of have our own analytics and research and information for a bunch of assets they don't. But as we don't really charge an extra fee, we basically have an agreement with Coinbase to sort of help us out with a % of that revenue after the fact. So basically trading fees. We also have a small premium tier on our app that's just like a $3 monthly fee. We make a little bit of money on that. And really right now, one of our next phases is really trying to get out some of these live index products and charge a little bit of fee for sort of using this methodology or buying this product as a whole. And then also really trying to figure out how to monetize a little more of our research. So right now it's really just, from consumers in that pro tier. A little bit we use just for raw marketing, but we'd like to try and experiment with really other groups we could maybe sell this research to. So maybe it's a more, high value item, the consumer research. Maybe it's to some sort of businesses, call it a hedge fund or a wealth management shop. One interesting idea I've been thinking about at least is, these upcoming ICOs have so much money moving around in sort of the traditional financial space. You'll see like investment banks and FAs sort of get involved with raises and take a little like percentage bit charge on the entire raise. And, maybe there is some demand from an actual ICO issuer for, hey, do you want sort of some refined marketing material, and are you willing to pay almost like someone else involved in your raise for that? Not that we're going to do that, but I think there's a lot of different groups we could monetize some of this research from as well to kind of expand away just a little bit from app-related revenue.
Awesome. So let me then go off of that and kind of bring up the idea that a lot of the reason that there are multiple assets that are available to be put together into an index fund is because of this decentralized crowdfunding phenomenon that we have seen. CoinFund takes kind of the experimental position that this is a model for the future of company and project fundraising. So how do you guys as a company think about fundraising yourselves?
Think about these assets doing these crowdfunding raises?
No. Actually, how does Lawnmower think about taking funds, or maybe crowdfunding, or maybe taking traditional investment and kind of moving forward and pushing out a product?
Yeah, I mean, we raise money in a traditional sense. After seeing some of these blockchain asset crowdfundings, I wish we had some sort of native token to sling, but we've just sold traditional equity to two accelerators, Boost VC and Startup Bootcamp in Silicon Valley in New York. And then we also have taken money in a traditional route from a few angel investors as well. So nothing really weird here, just standard, hey, we're trying to raise a seed fund. Can we have some money to sort of live and build out our product for the next, as long as we can. But yeah, pretty standard, traditional equity raises. We just think that this new sort of blockchain asset crowd sale model is a really exciting trend. It has a lot of obvious benefits, a lot of obvious concerns too, but it's happening. So, we're just kind of covering the data and putting out research and information on just, how this is going down. We love to list the assets. It's actually kind of nice for us to sort of not go live with trading right off the get-go, but more be like, here's a research, here we'll write a blog post, or we'll list sort of a price graph or the market cap, but we'll wait, and now it's kind of like we'll have Coinbase vet it first, and if they add it, we'll add it. In the future, it's maybe, Poloniex and Bittrex add assets really quickly, but they still do something. So right now it's kind of just like we're on the sideline watching and just waking up every morning, and it seems like almost every other day it's like, oh my God, someone raised $10 million in 3 seconds. Jesus.
Yeah, for us, it's really cool and exciting, and we agree that it's like this kind of future of crowdfunding, but definitely for our own company, like the regulatory side is probably the biggest thing keeping us from like jumping into that pool pretty much. I mean, it's still really ill-defined how all of these ICOs are kind of looking at the regulations. Most of them probably just are not. And so we're like, we're trying to just be legitimate until things mature, I guess.
Yeah. I would actually say that increasingly people doing ICOs, I think, have been a little bit more diligent just because of the recent, exuberance that you see. So you see things like risk disclosures. You could read that for, the first blood sale and the singular DTV sales that happened recently. I know I peek into the Arcade City Slack, and Arcade City has been kicking around the idea of a crowd sale and really doing a very diligent job of figuring out what the legal regulatory issues are around that and how to structure it in a way that makes it more safe. So I would say, like, as a general whole, that's definitely an issue on the table. There's going to be an SEC forum, I think, in November, which is going to be either like really great or very, very unfortunate for everybody in this space. But we'll see what happens.
Well, I think the more that people try, like you're saying, the better things will go for us. The more that there's an effort at least shown, the better the SEC and other regulators will react.
Thankfully, obviously the market doesn't care. It seems like they'll almost put money at any opportunity nowadays. But, there have been some very critical blog posts and things like that just calling people out. So that's going to kind of force the hand of, we need to try a little harder. There's specific examples we can look back and, point out now what they might have did right or wrong. But also there's just the whole concept with these blockchain asset sales of like, SEC, what is that, a U.S. corporation? Well, let me just go headquarter my entity in Switzerland if I even say there is an entity in place and it's not just some DApp smart contract code. And then who has jurisdiction over this? What if I say I just don't want U.S. investors, or, the law's just so much in its infancy and it's crazy and stuff just happens so fast. It's just like, how is this going to end up really, really quickly? This whole like concept now where a lot of people are like, it's irresponsible to raise, over some random number like Vitalik's $10 million in an asset sale. It's like, where'd that number come from? B, if you're looking from the perspective of like a traditional firm raising equity, it's like, you're supposed to get as much money for the equity as you can. Why would you cap out your valuation? That's just like, because it's going to lead to irresponsibility in the founding team. That's a bigger problem.
So that's interesting. I think like on Reddit, people have been discussing, especially around the Gnosis sale, kind of a slightly different crowd sale structure, which I thought was really interesting. And what that does is actually use an auction model to attempt to give the team an opportunity to sell as little of their asset actually as they can. And that requires a little bit of a psychological shift, right? Because the idea of holding back a lot of the asset that trend has really been going down, right, from the Bitcoin days. But now with the advent of smart contracts, where you can actually have kind of responsible vesting of that reserve, it might be an interesting idea to do it that way, because that's more, I think, more to the traditional model.
Yeah, I was going to bring up a few things. I mean, in the traditional IPO space, like leaving money on the table is a big problem. Like some company will hire Goldman to like do their IPO. Goldman will go out to the market, come back and be like, hey, I think $13 a share is, what the market's demanding. And then it opens that first day and then it immediately spikes up to like $40 a share. And the issuer's like, dude, I could have got like triple the money. What's up with that? So then they develop this like Dutch auction strategy, and maybe that's better for price discovery. But on your example of Gnosis, I mean, them being part of like Consensus in Brooklyn is a good thing. I mean, there's several like Ethereum-based dApps that are either having or going to have crowd sales sort of under the Consensus guideline, and they're seriously being like, hey, Gnosis, take a second, chill out. Let's think about this regulatory legal strategy. I'm sure they're saying the same thing to all their other companies, and we'll probably see something of almost like a guideline or like a template or some guidance from Consensus on how they think like, these crowd sales should be structured, which then hopefully, moves into every other issuer who's not part of Consensus, at least looking at that. And then, sort of we see this actual natural development of some standards via just, the market demanding it, or parties involved that are kind of just naturally pushing us in the right way, which is encouraging at least.
Yeah, nice. So we're approaching the top of the hour cutoff. I was just wondering, does anyone else who's on the line or in the chat, do you guys have any questions for the Lawnmower team?
There's one.
I got a question. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm just looking at the site, and the LBI, the Lawnmower Blockchain Index, is that actually backed by real cryptocurrency in there? Like, you actually have a fund going, or is this like a theoretical thing until you get your regulatory stuff figured out?
Yeah, so I'd call it theoretical. I mean, it is pulling live data from live real assets. It's just done, getting price quotes via an API and putting out some sort of condensed version. You can't actually invest into it yet until we figure out sort of the trading logistics for every asset backing the fund. But it does track the actual underlying assets in real time. Right now, we only support trading for Bitcoin and Ether, which are in that fund. But, there's like 6 more that we don't have trading tools for. So actually offering trading for the whole thing is not doable right now. We'd rather just use it as like a performance benchmark. So within the app, if you traded Bitcoin and Ether for a while, it's like, hey, here's how you've done compared to this index. This index is TBD. We want to be able to offer, use cases and actual investability into it, but it's still something we're figuring it out.
So you guys aren't personally buying these, like this sort of distribution of these top 10 or whatever cryptocurrencies yourselves? Just
Not with company money. Ourselves, I would say, is probably some slightly shifted methodology with a lot of those same assets, though.
That's really good performance numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, right now,
why don't you just do that? You probably make a bunch of money.
That's like one of the worst burns anyone's ever told us about this company. They're like, hey, you guys probably should have just kept your old jobs and just invested all your money in crypto. I'm like, screw you, man.
So does it rebalance? It says in the site, I think 24 or every month, or does it rebalance?
So prices update continually. The entire allocation rebalances every month. So stuff comes in and out every month. It only shows assets that were above 50 million market cap on the first of that month. So right now, I think there's somewhere like 8 to 10. And, right now we just saw Augur go live like a few days ago. Its market cap, I think, is 50 mil now, at least last time I checked. So that one will probably make it into the LBI next month. And then, if Steam and Monero continue to fall, maybe they'll come out. But it just kind of automatically updates to really keep like the leaders in at the time.
So have you guys done back testing to see whether a shorter time frame of rebalancing would yield better or worse results? Like, how did you come to the 1 month?
So we did a little bit back testing. The 1 month, I will say, is not have a ton of science behind it. We only released this index in July 2016, and you can see on our website we kind of drug that back to January 2015 anyways. I think if we were going to put out an actual investable product of the index, you'd want a slightly larger time frame than like a week. So I think 1 month would be good in case there was any, trading or rebalancing fees. The S&P, I think, uses something like 3 months, but I think the blockchain space just shifts a little faster than that. So 1 month's just kind of in the middle, what I think is reasonable, but, it could easily be a different time frame.
And then do you have these numbers in Bitcoin?
The quotes, we have all the quotes available.
No, I mean, like the return over time. Like, is there somewhere where you have it listed in Bitcoin versus, having the LBI versus just holding Bitcoin?
Oh. Yes, so that's we have that metric kind of in the app versus your performance trading Bitcoin. I don't think on the website or any public documents we show just LBI versus Bitcoin. Actually, maybe in the sort of longer form report that we have listed on kind of the resources tab of the LBI page. But as far as comparisons of the LBI versus other assets, we mainly leave that in the app on the performance page to kind of make you like trade to actually see, how you've done versus it. But
yeah, I'm just, because I see most of the assets are Bitcoin, right? Obviously, Bitcoin is the leader right now, but I wonder what it would look like if, because in dollars, right, it looks really good.
Yep.
And I wonder if it outperforms just holding Bitcoin.
I think since the start of the year, the LBI is up probably a few percent over Bitcoin just because Ether's rallied so much, and it's like the second place weight.
Right.
But it's been dragged down a little bit by some other names in recent time, but just given the market cap weighting methodology, Bitcoin is contributing most of the movement, Ether in second place, so it's probably slightly up versus Bitcoin.
Awesome. Guys, thank you for your questions. I have a cutoff, so I have to jump off, but Patrick, Peter, and Alex, thank you very much for joining us. I wanna leave with just one last question, which is, how did you get to the name Lawnmower?
I'll let Pete take that.
No. Oh, there's so many different explanations, man. It depends on like what stage you're asking at. We actually we're just talking to one of our angel investors about this, and he's like, I've got a new explanation for you. You guys are cutting the grass and leveling the playing field for all of finance. So that's my new explanation nowadays. But it's been through a lot.
What I immediately thought of is like, when you're 15 and your neighbor pays you $5 to mow his lawn or whatever, and then you put it in a savings account.
Yeah, someone said that to us too. It's like your first step into the real economy.
Awesome. Yeah, great discussion, guys. Everyone, feel free to continue in our Slack. I'm going to stop the broadcast now, and hopefully we'll have this video available shortly. Again,
Thanks so much,
guys.
man.
Appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Thank you.